I recently ordered a simple Modern Mesa Loop water bottle. Normally, I don't do any kind of product reviews because usually there are people who've already done far better, far more professional, and far more informative reviews than myself could ever do. But in this case, I actually watched it because I need a decent water bottle after I lost my old one. And all of them seem to be really positive for this bottle. So I thought, let's order it. And I'm going to just give you a quick rundown of why I'm going to send it back, despite actually thinking very positively of most aspects of this design. So as you can see, pretty simple bottle, stainless steel. We've got this, which is a seal. Come to that later. Then a second additional straw. That's a very nice thing to have. Then this is the straw that, is inserted when you get it. And as you can see here, instead of just being plugged or stick in, you have a screw-on ring, which is very nice. And then here you've got the cover. Now, as you can see down here, again, we've got a screw thread, a minor lip here for some additional protection. Let me just show you how this works. So you take this and you can, let me just show you on the camera. You can just screw this in here. A bit difficult. Don't have any kind of or something on it. But yeah, as you can see, you just do a quarter twist and then it's twisted in. And that's very nice. It's now solid, twisted in. What's also nice is on here, instead of like needing 5 turns or something, you only need a quarter turn and then it's securely fastened in. Now, what you then do is you take this seal. It's a very simple seal. It's easy to take off and easy to clean, but there's a problem with it, which I'm going to mention right after showing you this. And you just plug it on here. Again, it's a bit difficult doing it with one hand, but yeah, you just plug it in on here, then it's tight on here. And then you also ensure that it's properly seated on here. Now, you may not see this properly, but it is seated very well on both sides. And that is that. I'm going to take this off now because I want to show you this. Oh yeah. Also, let me just show you. You click this close. It has a lock button here. So if it's down, position is locked. Position goes open. And the great thing is, unlike another rather popular bottle, which is the Ovala, you can have this independent of whether you're using the loop here for carrying or not, which is very great on the Ovala. There's some people who are also saying that because it's using the loop, that it actually sometimes opens in the back, and this is not possible with this design. Now, Ovala has a newer bottle, which is the Sway, available in my country yet, but that also has a dedicated lock on the back, which is far better. But that's not the main topic, because the main topic why I wanted to make this video, because if you've seen any kind of review video on this bottle, you've probably already known this. And this is all very nice and very high quality. It could maybe just open slightly slower because you can flick a bit of water from the seal when it's in there. But yeah, that's all not that much of an issue. Again, a quarter turn, and again, you've got this twisted in here. It's rather nice. Yeah. And yeah. So why I wanted to make this video, because up to this point, this is very nice. It's maybe a bit expensive. So if you don't need a bottle with a sippy straw, let's be honest, childish, but then I'm a bit of a child myself. But yeah, if you don't want a bottle with a sippy straw, but just want to drink out of there, far more affordable options. And again, got it because I needed a replacement because I lost the other one. But my problem is this. The one thing I want from a bottle is for it to keep my liquids inside properly. And the main scenario I'm thinking of is when you've got the bottle and you've got a bottle holder on the side of your backpack, and then you put the backpack on the floor, and it might lay like this for, if you're at university or at work, 10, 20, 30, maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before you actually notice. And liquids may seep out. That's not ideal. So is this a problem with this bottle? Unfortunately, it is. So I'm going to explain to you first what the problem is, and then I'm going to show it to you. This is usually seated in here, out for cleaning. Very nice. But how this works is when the lid is closed, this is pressed on these 2 points of egress. So this is the point where you actually sip. Now, as you can see, it's contoured a bit, straight around, a hard plastic molding here. This is where you drink from. This is a small hole where the straw is attached. Yeah. And then this is a slightly larger hole for air to get into the bottle, so you don't have a major kind of pressure differential when you're sucking in, so it's easier to suck. So that's also why it's a bit larger, easier to drink. Let's put it like that. Now here's the issue. As you can see here, this part here, which is the part of the seal-off flange, which gets pressed against here for the air exchange hole, this is slightly contoured in. And then as you can see here, you've got a slight angle, so that when it gets pressed down, it's slightly pressed in. And that means that even if it's upside down, there's not a lot of liquid that's going to escape from there. There are going to be some drops on here when you open it. And again, because it's very high up, you can get back. It's not ideal, but it's not great. This keeps it for the most part in. If you shake it a bit, because I did do some testing, but if you shake it to an unrealistic degree, then from here there can also be some water egress, water loss, but it's not a major issue. It's that big of a concern. Your concern is not shaking, but just having it around laid on its side for an hour or two when it's in a backpack. What's a bigger issue is this part here at the front. Let me just see if I can focus it a bit more. Yeah. This is not even contoured, but rather completely flat. It's at an angle, but it's just because this is at an angle. But yeah, when it's on there, it is very much flat. Now, what this means is that the only protection you have, because here you have got at least a bit of an angle, so you've got a bit of protection from the sides as well when it's pressed in. The only protection you have from here is literally just the pressure being put on. And because water is pretty heavy, that is very easy to overcome. So basically just like here, it's like this. Here, it's really just like this. That is not a lot of protection. And as you can see, because this is converted to completely flat, that's not ideal. Now, at first it was just like, I didn't even notice this. I just put water in it and just using it. It was very nice and stuff. But then I had it on the side, actually by accident. I didn't even do it consciously. And I noticed that a lot of water was getting in here. And more importantly, water was going out. And despite it being both closed and locked with the seal, I can put the seal in now just to show you. And especially on here, on the hinge, a lot of liquid was escaping. Not ideal if you don't notice it with water. Even worse if you're talking about coffee or a soft drink or something. Yeah. And yeah, because again, all the protection you have from here is just the pressure from the hinge. And again, I don't think that's acceptable for honestly any bottle at any price, but especially for a more expensive. How could they resolve this? So for one, I'm going to say, despite being, there's also a bit of rubber on the bottom, so, it grips, it stands well. But yeah, again, I am going to have to return this because, again, I don't want any kind of liquid escape from bottle when I'm having it laying on the floor in my backpack. Now, how could they resolve this? There are a few ways to do it. For one, they could design the cover here. So there's a bit more space around here, so they could have a piece of seal that goes around this. And not ideal, but it would probably solve the problem. It would require a major redesign of this top part, so maybe not ideal. Another thing I was thinking about is maybe introducing some kind of S-fan band, some kind of siphon to this. Because again, there's very little water getting out from this already because it's slightly angled, slightly contoured. But there's a lot of liquid escaping from here, especially if the bond is full to the, I think it was 810 or something fill line. If it goes to the fill line, it's upside down or inside, you are going to have some. And so introducing maybe some kind of curve, some kind of S-band like on the laboratory with siphon would mean that unless someone is actually drinking from it, there isn't going to be any kind of escaping because there's no suction. Again, maybe a solution. It's very expensive to create that tubing instead of just a straight tube. So that's would be, again, require some redesign of the big tooling. Not ideal. So my third idea was, why not just design this? This would be maybe just make the hinge just slightly tighter so there's a bit more pressure. Yeah, but my main idea was basically to redesign this. How this would work is basically just on here, just to be sure, introduce a slightly raised section in the center so that this isn't just covered and covered on the sides as well, but also slightly plugged so that something goes in there, plugging it from top. They can maybe tighten the hinge a bit to create a bit more pressure. And then you do the same thing on here on the front part. So again, that this part here is plugged. So then there's going to be far less chance for water to actually go out. So yeah, now I've talked already like 12 minutes about a bottle, which is longer than I ever intended to in my existence. But I'm just going to put this on. You know what? I'm actually going to do this with two hands. I mean, my phone on out, so I'm going to put this on properly. Then I'm going to fill the bottle up to the fill line, put this on, and then I'm going to show you with some paper towels and put it on inside and then shake it slightly. Now I've filled it up to the fill line that's in the bottle with water. As you can see, hopefully the seal is seated in fully, both on the front and in the back and on the sides. This is screwed in fully. Again, I do like that it's only a quarter turn. And as you can see on here, on the plastic, there is no liquid on here. You may see these drops over here. Those are on the bottom because it's slightly transparent, translucent. But on here, there is no kind of liquid. It's completely dry, and also this part here is completely dry. Now, when I first noticed water actually, not just going here, but then also exiting through this hinge, that was after 20-30 minutes, which is not what we're going to do now. I'm just going to shake the bit, put it on side a bit to simulate that very quickly. And just so you know, anything that you're going to see on here in terms of water droplets and egress or anything, or on here, anything that's not just on the top of the seals or inside and around the holes, is going to be something that I think you should be concerned about, because that is what then after 10-20 minutes becomes a mess that actually exits. And if it's water, that could damage your electronics or your paper or your bag. If it's something like a juice, a soft drink, a coffee, it's not just going to damage, but it's also going to make a sticky mess, which is even worse. Yeah, I'm just going to close this now. I do like this. I do that. Be locked. I do like this, but I'm going to show you what I don't. Just so you see it, I've got a eye paper. That was just a shadow from a monitor, but it is completely dry. Just to show. So what I'm now going to do is just going to take it. I'm just going to simulate like a bit of. Again, if your bottle is on the side, which again, if you put it in a backpack that you put on the floor, it easily can be in it. But it is not that unrealistic. Yeah, let me just now open it. Now you see already, yeah, this is not ideal. Yeah. The water on the seals, I'm not actually concerned about on here. It's not ideal because the hinge is very fast, and this is going to get, if you don't just open it with a bit of keeping it slightly slowed down with your hand, this is going to flick out, and that's not ideal. There's actually a YouTube channel called Prudent Reviews. They're very much for their reviews of kitchen knives. I bought a certain set of filling knives, and I'm really happy with it, and I've been using them for a long time, and I'm going to continue using them for the rest of my life. But yeah, they do actually great reviews where they not just shake it a bit, but actually knock it over. I'm not going to do that now because I don't want to ding this bottle, because I'm going to return it. But yeah, anything that's on here is not ideal because it flicks back. Yeah, that's why I mentioned Prudent Review, because they actually do a flick back test, and this would definitely fail it. But it's not a problem because this is just the inside of the seal. What is a problem is this was after like 20-30 seconds of just shaking, which sure is a bit more violent. But if you think about it, if you bottle this on the side or upside down, or more likely on the side in your backpack that's not lying on the floor for 20-30 minutes, water has weight. Going to just push the seal further, and more of this is going to exit. And this this shouldn't happen. There shouldn't be any kind of liquid on here on this plastic part. Yeah. I didn't even have to do the flick around test. I would have, of course, just slightly caught it so it doesn't get clean. But I didn't even have to do that with the paper towels because this is already, this is not ideal. If you like flick it around, I think it's any better. But yeah, this is going to cause some major issues with your bag. And again, I've seen this. I wish it would just stay in here. That wouldn't be ideal. It wouldn't be very hygienic. But this is hard plastic. And this is hard plastic. This isn't some kind of rubber or something. So it doesn't really compress, and it doesn't really create a seal. So this, again, out here, and this gets out here, especially at the hinge. And again, that's where I saw after 10, 15, 20 minutes, liquids escaping. And because it wasn't water in my case, it was even worse. But yeah, that is basically why I wouldn't recommend this bottle at this point. I do lock, I do the loop, I do like the overall instructions, I do these twist in straw, I do the quarter twist to close it. But yeah, I would, as I mentioned, I would improve the seal. I think that's the most feasible solution without retooling the entire design. By just plugging this and this here slightly, then maybe I say I would tighten up hinge so it creates a bit more downward pressure. So it's a bit tighter, the seal as well. But then wouldn't tighten the hinge actually mean that this gets flicked even faster. And because this is so high, this would be flicked even further. Maybe you can tighten the seal somehow, but keep this a bit slow. Have some soft close or soft open in this case, rather like functionality. I would really have to look in it. But basically, yeah, just create a slightly raised section in the center of this that plugs it, but especially in the center of this that plugs. This needs to be plugged, because otherwise you're going to have liquid egress. This was after a few seconds of violent shaking, but if it's lying on the floor, you're going to have liquid escape. If it's water, that's not ideal. If it's something other than water, that's even worse. And a bottle that's sold as leak-proof, not just resistant, but actually leak-proof, should not leak any kind of liquids that you're feasibly going to put in. Again, if it's something uncarbonated, if it's something, hot, if it's something that might actually create a bit more pressure against the seal, this is even worse. Again, ask me how I know. But yeah, that's why I'm going to return this. I do the straw. I do like that you get an extra straw. I do like the loop. I do the construction. I do like the design, the colors. But yeah, I'm going to have to look for another bottle that is compatible with my exacting standards of actually keeping my liquids inside. Yeah, and if anyone who is actually consistent bottle reviewer, not just someone like me who just bought one and because it meant just notice an issue and that's why I made this video. But if anyone who does bottle reviews as a hobby or as a job in YouTube, on TikTok, whatever, sees this, I'd recommend maybe just look at prudent reviews, because I've watched a few reviews on a few bottles and then settled on this before buying it. And then after buying it and noticing the leak, I watched probably in like any kind of review that's like longer than like a 1 minute short on this bottle. And none of the reviews I've seen, including from channels that, focus on bottle reviews, there's a niche for everything on the internet, but none of them did, what prudent reviews is, which is actually knocking it over. And none even did an upside down test to look at the seal. And again, because I noticed this after 2 days of use, I'm also not sure how long they've actually used it. Because again, if you've got a backpack and you put it on the floor and you put it on its side, you're going to notice this issue. So yeah, if there's any kind of bottle review channel, maybe just improve how you evaluate your leak proofing, look into prudent reviews. And maybe also look into vacuum wars. They don't do anything with bottles, but they are actually really great in creating actually standardized testing for the product category that they're focused on. And if like it's a channel that doesn't just, cover and review multiple things, but is focused on one thing like bottles or vacuums or whatever, that's always a great thing. Yeah, this has been like my probably 20-minute diatribe on the rather subpar seal on a bottle, how I could see it being improved. And yeah, so have a great day. And there's been anyone out here who's actually watched this to the end and who's actually had an advantage or whether this helped them in their purchase decision, then, well, I'd love to hear it. So yeah, bye-bye. Ciao, have a great day and have a great 2026. It's about to be Sylvester, we're about to have a new year and see where it takes us. Hopefully towards a bottle that actually seals.